Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. And yes, this is another lesson in insanity. So I tend to do these about what is happening here in the United States of America, the ununited States of America. Obviously, the channel is military and foreign affairs. But at a certain point, what is happening here in the ununited States of America could become a topic of military discussion. Now, we have the recent verdict of the former president of the United States, the 34 Class E, quote-unquote, felony convictions. Now, I talked about an earlier episode in which when you go to court here in the United States, oftentimes you see Lady Justice, the blindfolded Lady Justice, holding the scales of justice. Now, as I look at the trial of the former president, I have to look at hypotheticals. I have to compare and contrast. Let's say if I was having a property dispute with one of my neighbors, and one of my neighbors was alleging that I had maybe built a fence just a few inches on his land. And the judge in this property dispute was, in fact, the neighbor who alleges I built the fence on his land. Furthermore, the prosecutor in this dispute between me and the neighbor, who is also the judge in my trial, is the brother-in-law of this judge. Imagine being charged with beating your wife. Now look, no one should beat their wife. But if you were to be charged under allegations for beating your wife, and the judge and the prosecutor were having sexual relations with your wife, and each of these persons having had sexual relations with your wife, one would be sitting as your judge, and one would be prosecuting you. Now look, I know that may sound extreme, but we're not too far off. Who remembers the 1970s? Who remembers the 1960s, the 1980s? I remember a time when I visited the capital of what is now the ununited States of America. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. And at this time, our constitutional republic, not a democracy, a constitutional republic. During this time, in the 70s and 80s, I was able to walk into the United States Capitol. I could walk into the Capitol without going through a metal detector. I could walk into balconies overlooking where law was being argued and debated and passed. I could freely roam around the quote-unquote people's house. Not a problem. Can you do that today? Absolutely not. Try to get into the Capitol today. without scheduling something, not going to happen. Very difficult to do. Much different than what has happened in the past. And again, as I sit here today, they're getting ready to throw Steve Bannon in prison, a political opponent of the unitary one-party state. They're probably going to try and throw the prior president in prison as well. Hold on for the ride, folks. It's fixing to get crazy. Have a good day.